게임은 재밌으면 된다니까?
불멸의 전사 2.
KT 롤스터가 자랑하는 3명의 카드를 조성주가 다 잡아내네요.
조성주가 KT를 끝내버리기 직전입니다. 올킬 조성주! 조성주가 3킬을 기록합니다. 조성주가 너무 정말 100% 완벽한 경기를 계속 해냈습니다. KT가 약한 게 절대 아니었습니다.
What's up, guys? It's Tastes and Wolf. Welcome to the Pro League Finals here. How you doing, buddy?
I am doing excellent, Tastes. I think this is going to be one of the best round finals we have ever had.
I totally agree, man. I have no clue who's going to win these guys.
Look
Here
at
is
this.
Jin Air Green Wings.
Plus 10 indicator is something that's just basically unseen in these team leagues, and KT rocketed through with their all-kill stats, taking that win, taking the upset win versus SKT. And now going into this finals, it's going to be a really close one. And I got to ask you, Tastes, do you have a favorite going into this one?
I don't know. I might be a bit partial to the Jin Air Green Wings.
Me too.
But I also think it would be a great narrative if KT wins here. And we're going to start this off with the PvP.
That's right, and I just want to mention that Jin Air Green Wings has been in the last 5 Pro League round finals and grand finals in a row, and they have not won a single time. They're basically second place winners 5 times in a row, and they're looking to break that streak tonight, and I think this is the best chance they've ever had at doing so. They're so strong right now. They've got such a depth to their lineup. But on the other hand, you know, KT, in their last match, they only used stats. They got an all-kill, so they didn't show a lot of their strategies. It was only stats who came out, who's coming out yet again first here. So they've hidden so much as what they're going to do if they lose stats.
I would put it like this. I'd say Jin Air, the dynamic of a team, being able to snipe, being able to prepare each player for their match, I think they're stronger in. KT is a series of juggernauts.
Yeah. And I think that KT is a team that their wins are often based upon multi-kills. You know, they're a momentum-based team. If Stats gets 2 kills, he might just go all the way. He's the type of player, if he gets that momentum on his side, he can just get out of control. The same with Zest. You know, another player that we will probably see later on tonight.
I think we absolutely will be seeing. I think of it like this. I'd say that it's all going to be about how Jin Air adapts throughout the series, because KT can keep dishing out player after player after player that could easily, no joke, at 2 to 3 kills.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't be surprised by almost any of their players pulling that off.
Now, one of the big threats for KT is, will they be able to deal with Maru tonight? He hasn't dropped a single map this season. And because, of course, they got the seed into first place, he hasn't shown any of his builds, any of his strategies going into this. Now, let's take a look at the all-kill format here. KT Rolster most famous for their wins in the all-kill format. But in the head-to-head, Jin Air has beaten KT 5-0. And last time they beat them, they did it with a Maru all-kill. So just keep that in mind. They are 5-0 in this particular format.
Yeah, Maru's role in this match is going to be integral to the results, favoring Jin Air Green Wings, excuse me here. So here's, for a little bit more information about the map data that we've been using so far here. Pretty interesting stuff. By the way, guys, some of you have not been watching Pro League since the very beginning. This is easily one of the oldest, greatest esports tournaments of all time.
Absolutely. Now,
a lot of history with it here in Korea.
When you look at these results, Jin Air has the much better result on all maps. Why? Well, because they've been doing much better consistently in recent times. Now, look at the players who have all kills under the belt. Stats has 5 all kills, TY has 3, and Zest has 2. On the side of Jin Air, Maru has 1 all kill, and SOS has 3. But look at how many players they've got for 3 kills. So on both sides of the coin, there are players that have had streaks, and that's really important in this because you don't know who your next opponent's going to be. It's not the setup format where you know 100% you're facing. Only the first match is like that. Everything else is up in the air. We don't know who's going to come out next.
And this makes there some really interesting strategies when it comes down to who do you bring out. If you bring out your strongest player too early, they might snipe him with somebody, might be a lesser player, but they had strats tailored to take that guy out. If you bring out somebody too weak too early and it's a bad choice, well, then you're just behind, especially in the case of a Jin Air. I think this matchup is very important because Trap needs to get a kill here against Stats. If he doesn't, Stats has already proven he can do this before Wolf.
He's already on a 4-game winning streak from that all-kill. He made it all the way to the Star League Finals. He defeated Dark on SK2. He could not defeat in the finals. He defeated him in that best of one, and that speaks volumes, I think, as to where his mindset is right now. He's in a really good place, and if you let this guy get on a roll, we could see another KT all kill tonight. It's absolutely possible.
Jin Green Wings, they want this. That doesn't mean they're going to get it, but they have been having a huge history of steadily improving in StarCraft 2. When they started out as a team back when, look, they had some good players, but they weren't necessarily in the limelight immediately. And as time has passed, they've gotten better and better and better, proving that the times they got this deep into the Pro League, it wasn't a mistake. It's in fact their consistency, their ability to prepare. But KT, again, a series of juggernauts that they're going to have to clash with.
Yeah.
It's going to be, not in every matchup, but in many cases, a series of David versus Goliath matchups.
Absolutely.
With KT being the Goliath.
And in this first match, I feel like that's a perfect example.
Yeah.
We're going into Trap versus Stats, and Trap, a player who's evolved a lot as a player. I feel like when he was on Incredible Miracle, he wasn't that strong. Even when he was back on Woongjin Stars at the beginning of StarCraft 2, you know, when Casper was joining into the StarCraft 2 scene, he didn't look that strong. But ever since he joined Jinner, he's been getting better and better and better. But I would still say a player like Stats is the heavy favorite going to this first best of one. I mean,
Stats, another player who has just not stopped improving. Stats was, for a long period of time, considered a very good Protoss, and period there. But as time has passed, he's just developed into this beautiful Protoss player who's got incredible style, tenacity, strategy, and it's going to be a bit of a scary start here. Trap definitely going to be the underdog here. This is a guy, I would have put him in the same league as Stats maybe a year or two back. Stats has maybe exceeded him, as well, definitely as far as reputation. Trap's somebody who does tend to play conservative when he gets ahead.
Yeah.
Might have to try to adjust that here against Stats. We'll see what happens.
I'd say it's incredible to say that Trap is one of the weaker players on Jinner, but he has a 5-2 record, 8-3 for Stats here, who, you know, really is 12-3. We don't count all kills. We don't count this format in your official records, but he did just come off of 4 wins in a row, so he's 12-3 essentially. In this format, getting an all kill, that says a lot. He's the starting player here again. He is the big favorite. And I think for KT, it's almost as important for him to get this first win to keep that momentum going, because they are going to need multi-kills. You know, they don't have 4 strong players that are going to just kind of get 1 win each to win this. I think they need a big multi-kill, because it's going to be hard to beat players like Maru, SOS.
And you can see our audience is pretty split on predictions here as well. So far, 46% tweeting in. The Jinner Green Wings is going to take this slightly more there for KT. By the way, feel free to participate in that poll on Twitter using those hashtags.
Yep, it'll be going on throughout the entire match. Trap looking like he's meditating here. This is going to be a very difficult starting one, Tasteless.
And our game is ready to go. Map 1 will be Dust Towers. This is Trap versus Stats. Game number 1 in Pro League 2016. All right, introducing our players here in the upper right in the green, it's Trap. By the way, it's absolutely packed in the studio here. I don't even know if we can get a shot that does it justice, but it's so filled up in here. In the bottom left, in the red, he is Stats.
KT Rolster fans here.
That's right. So we got 2 floors in this studio.
Yeah, that's right.
And I know it's completely filled up at the bottom, but I've never seen it this filled up here in the top.
Yeah, there's like people sitting next to us. They're like encroaching into our casting area. There's so many people.
That's right, man. We got our casting desk with a moat with alligators in it, man, to keep them out of here. And by the way, okay, right away we got to talk about this nice block here. Trap locks out the scouting probe there for Stats, which is going to stop him from getting the necessary intel to see, is he going to go for a fast expand or is he going to tech?
Yeah, that's a big question, as we have a sign for one of our Korean commentators there. But he obviously is just going to come up here and check again. He sees that the pylon wasn't canceled, and we'll just harass this. I mean, he might be able to get a little bit of information, but this does deny Stats any sort of idea as to what is coming his way later on, so he might have to play a little bit more conservatively as a result.
You know, this is a bit of a poker game here from Trap. Some Protoss players, they take that Nexus, others tech. Now, I believe that probe can see that cybernetics core here.
Yeah.
So that's going to give away anything else, and that's one of the issues with the 2 pylon block like that if you do it. Eventually, they do see the cybernetics core because you got to tech them to do that somewhere. And this is going to make stats a little bit more comfortable here.
Yeah, and when you have 2 pylons like this, you know that anything they build will have to be within that pylon's radius.
Right.
So, like, he's not going to be able to hide, for example, 2 gateways. He just simply doesn't have the money to have a 3rd pylon and a 2nd gateway. So, even though he's blocked out here, he knows what's going on so far. The bigger thing that he's not going to know about, though, is going to be what tech comes in here. Is it going to be Stargate? Is it going to be a quick Robo? Or even a fast Twilight Council? That's what he just has no idea of finding out. And back at home, he takes a Nexus. And he's just going to sort of safely expand here and not take any too big risks. As you guys can see, there are tons of people here at the studio tonight. One of our biggest round finals I can think of in recent times.
Yeah, I've never seen it this packed in here, actually. So we got an Adept on the way here, and it's going to be Stargate Tech behind this. Now note, guys, Trap did not take an expansion yet. So that means that Trap has to do something pretty quickly, because as this Nexus starts for Trap, Stats is going to be finishing. Also, I don't know how much the Adept is going to behoove Trap in this situation, sending it out like this.
Oh, look at this. Scout comes in. He sees this probe. He's looking for something sneaky. The Adept is going to come up here and just kind of do a little bit of scouting. Yeah, like you said, it's not going to be that effective. Stats is sending his Mothership Core around the map. At the same time, we are going to see...
He wants to make it look like he's going to rush here.
Yeah, and he is. He does have a Mothership Core coming with this.
Oh, he does have a Mothership Core coming. Excuse me.
So, this is really important. He does need to get his own set up, and because his Mothership Core is on the other side of the map, he can't use his own overcharge defensively. So this could start to be a lot of damage.
This
Look at
is
this pylon.
actually huge. If he takes out the pylon, it's going to deny access to the gateway and Warp Gate coming in here. He's chrono boosting that out. The Adept shading right forward here, and it goes down. The Adept now coming in.
All right, here's the Mothership Core of Stats. This is going to scout the tech, but it's not at home to defend, which is a big problem here.
However, the Stalker's been able to do enough damage to this. He's eventually going to have to pull this back, but the Adept can come in here. We don't have a shot of it yet, but he's going to have to pull out in the last second. However, coming back.
Yep, and it looks like the Adept will shade out, I believe. Yep, the Mothership Core is still doing a little bit more damage here, and the Stalker's coming over. Doesn't have enough for a recall, so he does need to actually get out of there pretty safely. But the Phoenix tech has been scouted, and I'm curious now to see how Stats is going to respond. Oh, he might try to go for the snipe here.
Well, definitely. It would not be a bad idea. He's going to come right through here. He's got to be careful going right under these Stalkers, but only taking one shot there. The Mothership Core is going to try to move away. It's very low on HP.
He's going to use that overcharge, but he's got enough shields here. He should be fine.
But you know what? That's okay, because he baits out the energy on the Mothership Core. Trap beginning to mine from his expansion. Important to note, Stats has more workers here, and now it's going to be Stats taking out this pylon.
Yeah, the pylon will be taken out here. I mean, it's just it was a worthwhile investment, I'd say, overall. Ooh, nice deny on the Nexus.
And the Oracle's going to come in here. Only one Stalker. A little bit late on triggering the Oracle there. He does take out now 3 probes, 4, 5, and now 6. Trap with a nice escape.
Trap doing so well in this game. Stats will finally get that 3rd Nexus down, but Trap has actually now taken a worker lead despite his later Nexus. He can also plant his own 3rd base because he knows it's going to be safe. He has full vision, and he has the ability to do these backstab harassments with the Oracles. And he has Stargate Tech, which he's switched out of into Immortals.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. A lot of the other Protoss players we see will stick to the Stargate for a period of time. He gets the one Phoenix. Now, the Oracle part of that is what's really unexpected about it. As he comes in here like this, it's forcing Stats to overcompensate an anti-air while Trap's actually already switching into a Robotech. And, of course, the anti-air for Stats is going to be the Stalkers, so that's going to play in really well to the tech Trap is trying to go into.
He's forced him down a unit composition path that he's already countered, essentially, with these Immortals. So these Blink Stalkers, if he commits any further to them, are really just going to be very flimsy. He's not going to be able to accomplish a whole lot with them. Yeah, they are mobile, but his own Immortal tech is also going to be very far behind. He's even starting an Observer first before he starts Immortals, so Trap is always going to have the better Immortal count. That's something that's not going to change for a long time in this game. The Phoenix just continues to scout here. Yeah, he didn't get any kills, but he delayed a Nexus, and he's constantly getting information.
Really interesting game here from these guys so far. I like the opening from Trap. I like the way that Stats has handled it thus far. Definitely a larger Stalker count here for Stats. We're going to see if he's going to tech in and try to, complement this a little bit better. Right now, he's just getting observers out for the time being. Probably feeling like he's in a bit of a weird spot, needs to get some scouting done. Now, we do see a Warp Prism coming in here, so that's what I was wondering. Is he going to be aggressive with this? Is he going to just try to do some kind of a timing attack? He's probably by now figured out there's only that one Phoenix, unless, let's say, Trap was banking it. I think he's assuming he's not. that he can probably push out here and actually try to be the bully with this Warp Prism. Obviously, to do some kind of timing attack, if you just had the Warp Prism, there were 5 or 6 Phoenixes out, that'd be a bit more problematic.
I wonder if he's starting to think that Trap might be trying to gear up for an attack himself, because he's actually adding 2 Forges, and I think the Warp Prism is going to be designed to be this kind of, okay, I see you moving out, I'm going to warp in a bunch of Adepts and Zealots in your base to harass you with that. He keeps making Stalkers too, so I think he's like concerned that there's going to be an attack coming soon, and he wants to defend and get ahead in Forges. Now, these Forges are scouted by Stats. He just barely saw them with that hallucination. He's already got his own Forge up. He had that a little bit faster. He may add his own second to respond to this, because he knows there's nothing coming his way that's going to kill him anytime soon. This is almost kind of transitioning into this greed game where, you know, it's just a Cold War type race to max.
Well, it's definitely a situation where we're going to see Stats try to last as long as possible and power up, and I think Stats is interested in trying to pick this fight over the 4th base. Now, note, there was a Warp Prism. We don't have a shot of it. He's just tagging the army right now. Trap is with the Oracle to keep track of it to see if it moves out. But he is sending that Warp Prism up to the top, and we got a Fleet Beacon here. And one thing that's specific to this map is that you can, because the only real circulation point by ground is in the middle, you can cut the map in half and start, teching up to air. And we'll see. Hold on a second. Let's get to this first. We got a drop coming in over here. Adepts now hitting these probes.
Yeah.
He should pick these up in a moment here and try to pull back out.
Exactly. And look at that. Canceling the Shade, tricking Trap a little bit here. Already 5 probes going down. The Warp Prism, he just sent it away because he knows, I guess, there are Stargate units on the map, so
yeah,
likely to lose it.
That's a wise decision. Probably better to keep that alive and hide it somewhere else. A little bit of a risky play here from Stats, because if that gets found, it's going to be a bit of an issue. And now we have the Mothership Core. Now, to what I was saying earlier before that drop happened, Protoss can actually tech up and cut the map in half entirely, or try to go for this late-game air style, having their entire army cloaked. And it's something that we've seen in Korea and outside Korea on this map, where you just get this insane army.
Now, one of the cool things about this, too, though, is I'm just looking at what Trap is building. He's making a lot more Phoenixes, because he knows that if he actually can kill the Observers, and in exchange, he will actually, basically remove detection. Oh, no Scout either. So close with Stats. But if he eliminates the detection with his Phoenixes, which happens oftentimes because Phoenixes kill Observers very quickly and they have moving shot, then the Mothership Core just wins the game for him, or at least absorbs all the Stalker damage while his ground army just wins the fight.
And as clunky as the Mothership Core is, it's still really hard to get when they got a huge army under it. It's very frustrating. Now, Stats here seems to be going for just a more traditional tech. He's going for the very conservative, balanced army on the ground, pushing a route. This may be enough to actually deny Trap from his expansion.
Yeah,
it'll depend. We'll have to have really solid defense here. Trap, in fact, just looking for the structure of the 3rd base, he may have to commit and try to hold the 2nd here. Now, if he does enough damage here, then it doesn't matter what the tech is from Trap, because Stats has already knocked him out of an economic advantage.
All right, he's coming in. The Mothership is ready. The Immortal count is better here for Trap, but he's coming in from a good angle. Stats going to back off and warp in more high tempo to make some more Archons.
Yeah, he wants to win this with an Arc. Stats wants to get a better angle here. Now, it looks like when he sees the Mothership Core, he deems this an unwinnable fight. Looks like the Warp Prism should be gunned down.
He doesn't have detection. He doesn't have an Observer here.
No, he does, doesn't he?
No, he doesn't have one. Look, there's no Observer here.
Checking the preview PC.
He's coming over now with it.
Yeah, he actually has no Observer.
He has no Observer with it, so he has to back off.
He actually seems like he left that at home.
It was like a Warp Prism spotter Observer, but he didn't have one with his army.
Yeah, that's a bit weird. He didn't have that coming out there.
He didn't scout it, so I guess that's part of it. And
Mothership Core attack is not entirely abnormal on this map, at least in the current meta. So that's unfortunate. Then again, even with the Observer, I don't know if it would have been wise for him to fight that anyways.
But he definitely couldn't. Once he didn't have an Observer, that was the end of the story. And now it's this awkward moment where Stats is significantly behind in tech, because the ground army won't win you the game in the end in most cases once the air army of your opponent's big enough, And so he's adding his own Fleet Beacon. He's also adding a ton more Robos, which is interesting because you can actually rebuild Immortals much faster this way. Because you can't warp in Immortals like you can warp in Stalkers.
Also, sometimes in Mothership, when you have 2 Motherships, sometimes you can try to chuck in Disruptors underneath them to try to hit the army down there.
That's true.
And do damage there. Let's see if he does that here. That's me thinking out loud. But we have the Trap pushing down here now. There may be an opportunity to poke in here. He doesn't have to. And we see him now. Stats is going to try to bait him back. This army's slowing up. It's probably not worth it for him to try to go back. He's going to dive in and try to wipe this out. Good pickups there on the Immortals. The Immortals going to be taking a lot of damage here from these Archons.
Moving in here, and still a decent time warp. It's going to be tough for Trap to retreat. Some more reinforcements going in, but this is looking pretty good for Stats right now. The Mothership pushed back. So many observers here, and he actually decides to recall.
And he recalls right back on top of some of those zealots.
He still hasn't even dealt with this harass. He's like losing gateways in his base.
Yeah, he actually went to the one of the next side that was being hit. But this is actually a pretty cool attack here from Stats. He's hitting from all these different angles. Now remember, the mothership core is bruised, and that's not going to be recovering anytime soon. So this counterattack from Stats may be able to punish the overextension here from Trap.
Yeah, I think Trap actually may be, he may just be dead here. He doesn't have a large enough army. His army is half the size of Stats right now. And here comes Stats. He's got double upgrades from those forges as well as so many Archons underneath this.
Okay, so I think 100% he's going to get this Nexus over here, but it looks like Stats also more interested in taking the fight if Trap does decide to come out here.
He's looking for the observers, but he's getting feedbacked. They can't kill the observers.
No, this is too much. Trap's supply is actually too low. I think this should be GG with game number 1 here going to Stats as the push continues to go forward. 90 or now 82 supply to 164 and a mothership core out of the game. Trap is now digesting the loss.
Mana Nexus queued up.
He wants to start the trash talk early here against Generic Green Wings. It doesn't look like it's going to go over there in time.
GG.
That's it. GG.
Stats on a 5-game winning streak now. He's on a streak. Don't let this guy get out of control. And I gotta say, I mean, we saw last week SKT sent 3 Zergs against him after he won the initial PvP. I think it's, definitely let's try to say Zerg is off the cards going into the second game, I would say. I mean, his PvZ is looking incredible.
Well, that was a great game there. I like the tech from Trap, but I think in retrospect we can all agree that the attack was ill-timed.
Yeah, it didn't work out the way he wanted it to, and it was just, I felt like somewhat unnecessary. He had good tech, he was building up, he had like a 4th base secured.
If he was going for some kind of ground army and thought he had an edge, but I mean, a good amount of gas went into the into that mothership core, the whole tech and everything else. It just seems like no matter what, Stats, if he can get vision of you, he's going to win the fight. Also, the opening at the 3rd base, that's pretty large.
Yeah.
You might want to take a fight like that if you were in a tight little angle, but not in a big open area. They're just going to get a good angle on you. They're going to be able to get their detection in there. You're not going to be able to juggle it. You can't take out their observer, by the way, if you're picking up their immortals with your phoenixes. So that means you have to assume that when you pick up the immortals comboed with the mothership core, that you're going to be doing more damage on the ground. And I think when you look at the 2 armies there, it just seems like no matter what, Stats is going to have a much better army. So I think the tech was cool from Trap. The strategy was cool. The execution was not good enough. Now let's talk about what this means.
Well, let's talk about the next player. Because who's going to come out now? Overgrowth is the map where we see Zergs most of the time come out, even versus a player who's so good at PvZ like Stats. So this could be the map where we see Rogue potentially come out. It's a risk, though, because he's one of their best players and by far their best Zerg. We're not going to see Hyundai probably at all, I would say. I mean, they've had a lot of time to prepare, so it is possible. But Rogue is the Zerg we're looking at here. If you're going to send a Zerg out versus Stats,
you think
Overgrowth
so?
is the map. You think?
I don't know, man.
But you think Hyun is a better choice?
Who?
Hyun? I mean, those are the Zergs we're looking at here, right? If we're going to see a Zerg on Overgrowth.
Okay, here's the problem. If you bring Rogue out and he goes down, and I think it's possible for him to go down here, then I think that there's no way to stop KT.
I agree. I actually think it's. I'm not saying
they just win in the muscle game.
I'm not saying it's better for. I'm not saying Rogue is the player we're going to see. I'm just saying if we see a Zerg, it has to be him. I'd rather see, honestly, Maru. I think it's bring him out early, man.
I would say bring out SOS.
SOS is also a great PvP player.
He's been a little bit more off the map since he hasn't been in as many individual leagues.
Yeah.
He's still a good player. He's got a lot of different play styles. He's been good at PvP. He's weird when he plays PvP. He does stuff that nobody else can get away with. If I was going to try to take out Stats and I was the coach, I'd say bring out SOS.
Stats has shown a lot of PvPs recently in televised matches, so that's stuff that he can look at and prepare for, because when you come out as a second player, you have the biggest advantage of this entire tournament, because you know the map and your opponent. You've known that forever, and he has no idea who he's going to face, so he can't prepare for the first map and second. Yeah, there's some anticipation that you can do, but at some point, if you over-anticipate, you're really just getting into your own head. So because this is a game that Stats will have to play blind, so this is the most important choice, I feel, always in this all-kill format.
When we saw Trap being killed back there in that game, you know that the team, the coach, and all the players get around and everybody starts saying, okay, who can take him out?
Yeah. Well, I think the second player is like always already planned. Like I think the second player has like been planned way in advance. Like if Trap loses here, we know exactly what we're going to send this map. The later on in the tournament, like it gets a little bit more flexible because you never really know who you're at.
You have more and more variables, right?
Yeah.
And ultimately, you should have the entire thing mapped out because otherwise you're not using any of the information in the actual games or the players are selecting to try to deem what decision you're going to make. But let's see. So I'm saying SOS. You're saying Azurg.
I'm thinking Azurg is possible, but I would rather see Maru myself personally. And I'd say, like, for me, my number one choice here is Maru, but then SOS is my second choice going into this map.
Maru's not a bad choice.
Yeah, I'd say, like, bring out the big guns early, you know?
The thing is, Generic Green Wings is really good, and there's a reason why they've had a ton of success in Pro League. I feel like they're just kind of lopsided. Do you know what I mean?
I see what you're saying,
as far as results go, for each individual player.
They're much stronger in the non-all-kill format. Like, I think they're somewhat weak here because they don't have as many stars as KT.
They're stronger in a non-all-kill format.
Yeah.
Like, you can have Rogue prepare really well, for instance, for one of these matches, and he might take out a player that he would normally not be able to beat in a best of 5 or in a best of 3, something like that. But the problem with for Generic Green Wings in this format